Hey everybody, IcyCat here. Today we're going to talk about the patch 2.1 update that was released. We've got a lot of changes and bug fixes, so let's take a closer look next. Patch 2.1 takes effect today, February 11th for PC, and next week, February 16th for console users. The extra week for consoles is due to the Sony and Microsoft certification process. That takes more time, whereas PC updates don't need to go through all of that first, and they can come out sooner. First up on the patch 2.1 change notes is that custom games and spectator camera is now available on dedicated servers. This is good because it gives no host advantage, better stability, and makes it harder to cheat. It comes with some limitations that apply to running a custom game specifically on the dedicated server. There has to be at least 10 players on the server to start the match. If running with a spectator, the spectator must be the one creating the game. If the match creator quits, then the lobby is disbanded. These matches are invite only, and you cannot join in progress if you leave or disconnect. You've also got a 10-minute time limit to fill the lobby to begin play, or else you have to create a new session. And you have to wait 10 minutes after shutting down your first lobby before you can create another one. All of these limitations apply to running a custom game using dedicated servers only. If you use a custom game with the peer-to-peer connection that's in the game already, these limitations don't apply. You also have the ability to choose which data center is running your custom game on its dedicated server if the default selection isn't efficient enough. Here's a welcome change. Daily challenges are now truly daily. You don't have to log into the game anymore to actually get one assigned to you, whether you log in or not. If you have an empty challenge slot filled, you'll get a replacement one every day. A lot of us feel like this is how daily challenges really should have been structured in the first place, so this is a good thing to see. General gameplay improvements include tweaking Blitz's head model and hitbox. They made his shield slightly taller as well to prevent easy headshots against Blitz. Now, he has the same exposure as the other shield operators. We've also got the addition of a couple of added HUD presets, one for ESL Pro League tournament use, and a prototype of a hardcore HUD for a future hardcore mode. Additionally, some work was done with the Fair Fight anti-cheat system so it communicates more clearly to players what it's doing when it bans someone. The biggest changes in this update don't come from new mechanics as much as they come from major bug fixes. There was a glitch that caused operators to appear to slide around in a fixed T-pose and look like a black shadow, which has now been fixed. Some headshots that weren't registering properly, including one with the two new operators, were also fixed. An exploit that allowed Capcan to make his laser beams invisible has been resolved, as well as one for Bandit that allowed him to duplicate his batteries. On PC, there was a conflict between holding sprint when walk was set to toggle, and that's been fixed. The glitch where Glaz would break Castle's barricades has been resolved. Another bug related to Diffuse Bomb caused the defenders to not be able to disarm the diffuser if the attacker placing it was killed while doing so, and that's been handled. Sometimes Blitz could blind players who weren't facing him, and that's been fixed. A problem related to Montaigne's visor glass going black was handled, but it sounds like it may be only a tentative fix, and they're keeping an eye on that one to see if the issue needs any more work or not. There was also apparently an issue with the correct number of terrorists in PvE not being displayed in the enemy remaining count that's been fixed. From a level design perspective, there was an exploit in the yacht map that allowed you to get inside of the roof and shoot through the ceiling, as well as some other similar exploits in Plane, and a brick wall in Oregon where you could shoot through. All of those have been repaired. There was a bunch of things handled that dealt with players glitching into walls or through walls, and that can't happen anymore. Also, a bunch of drones glitching into surfaces or falling out of world issues have been fixed. For online fixes, players shouldn't be able to join a ranked match in progress anymore. And there was work done on various vote-to-kick issues. There was also a low renown and XP error for Lone Wolf on Terrorist Hunt that's been handled. There's a variety of other smaller things that have been fixed as well, but I've gone over the bigger ones here. If you want more detailed specifics, head on over to the forums or the subreddit where you can read the patch notes in greater detail. You can find the links for both of those in the expanded comments section right below the video player. An interesting addition to the patch notes was a subsection that detailed some changes that came from the patch 2.0 last week that they didn't list in the official patch notes. Among the ones listed were the fact that Sledge now swings his hammer faster, and that Glaz can destroy his own wooden barricades now by shooting them. If you've played as either of these characters in the last week and a half, you've probably already discovered this, but they just hadn't officially listed the change before now. But there's also other undisclosed changes from the last patch. For instance, the placement of the yellow ping marker is significantly increased. I mean, I can place that thing clear across the map now. Weapon skins can now be previewed full screen in the shop just like they can in the operator loadout screen. You could always see them full screen in the operator section, but you couldn't if you went into the shop. Now it's the same in both spots. Additionally, you can now check the scoreboard from the lobby. They addressed some issues that allowed shield users to quickscope on an uncompleted ADS transition animation, and they addressed some misaligned weapon optics. Now these changes are super important to know about because they can affect the way the game is played, and yet they weren't listed. Hopefully these kinds of discrete edits don't get left out of future patch notes. especially anything that applies to balancing operator abilities or weapons. Leaving things that change how an operator plays shouldn't just be left for the players to discover on their own. Even with disclosing these previously hidden details, there's still other things that weren't really talked about. For instance, it was updated to show that Glaz can shoot through the wooden barricades, but they didn't mention how he can essentially make his own murder holes in any breachable wall. He used to just leave a small bullet hole, but now he tears open a chunk of wall and creates a new sightline. For Glaz, that's huge, it's game-changing, and yet it wasn't mentioned. At some point, Bandit's shockwire stopped shorting drones on contact, and now it only destroys them if they don't get out fast enough. You used to be able to use Bandit like a second mute if you wanted to during the drone scouting phase, and now that doesn't really work as effectively as it used to, and yet they didn't tell anyone about the change. They can't do that. If you change the way the tactics are used, you have to disclose that kind of stuff. It doesn't just affect the specific operator, it also changes the way that operator is used within the team structure and how that operator can be used against you if you're on the other team. Players can't be under the belief that they have tactics that work one way and then they get changed and they work completely differently and they're not even aware of it. Going forward, I'd like to see some more operator changes, and I hope they do a better job of relaying what those things are. There's still some glitches to get resolved too. One of the newest ones is frost traps instantly killing window repellers, which should definitely not be the case. It doesn't look like that got caught in time to make it into this update, so hopefully it'll be around for the next one. While this update didn't add a lot of new features per se, it did address a lot of exploits and glitches. And that's really good because it tells the community that the developers are on top of the game and want to make sure that the play experience is fair for everybody. A lot of us that have been playing lately have run into things like the invisible cap can traps, or Glaz breaking Castle's barricades and shooting through them even though it doesn't look like he can. These are the kind of things that if they were left in place would damage the game's reputation within the community. Some of these exploits didn't even come into being until last week's 2.0 update, and they were already addressing many of them. You really can't get a much faster response time than this. We're still doing our Rainbow Bronze credit pack giveaway. You can use these credits to unlock one of the new operators outright if you didn't already, or apply it toward a weapon skin or booster. If you want to enter, all you have to do is follow IcyCat on Twitter or like it on Facebook. Then just send me a private message with your Uplay ID and let me know what platform you're playing on. 4 winners will be chosen from this video. Now if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest news, tips, strategies, and more for Rainbow Six Siege. Thanks for watching everyone, we'll catch you next time.